Do you remember when I did a news story last year about the discovery of phosphine gas in the clouds of Venus? This was really exciting because phosphine gas is, 1, not something anyone expected to see there, and 2, is created through biological processes. The tentative discovery electrified the astrobiological and microbial communities because it was a very real chance that we could have indirectly discovered alien life, albeit alien microbes from within our own solar system. Follow-up research was able to confirm the detection of phosphine, and now experts are arguing over what that phosphine signal means. Is it some anaerobic alien microbe in the clouds of Venus? Or is it some physical process that we don't understand yet? Now, one of the reasons why this got everyone so excited was because this isn't the first time that aerosolized microbes have been suspected of inhabiting the atmosphere of Venus. For example, when Venus was first observed through an ultraviolet imaging device, Venus appeared to have these dynamic, roiling patterns of light and dark that played out in the clouds. It's been suggested that this could be caused by aerosolized microbes and their metabolic products and any absorptive interference they might have on UV light wavelengths. Now, this is cool and all, but none of this has been conclusively determined. I mean, imagine if it had been. I would definitely tell you about it. But the reason I bring this up today is because a new study has recently been published that claims that life in the clouds of Venus is highly improbable, if not impossible, due to the inhospitably low water vapor pressure in Venusian clouds. John Halsworth was lead researcher on the paper, and he said, quote, "When we looked at the effective concentration of water molecules in those clouds, we found that it was 100 times too low for even the most resilient Earth organisms to survive. That's an unbridgeable distance," unquote. NASA Ames astrobiologist Chris McKay was a co-author of the paper, and in a news conference to discuss the findings, he said, quote, "Our conclusion is based directly on measurements. It's not a model, it's not an assumption. The missions that NASA just selected to go to Venus will do the same measurements again, temperature, pressure, and they are going to come to very much the same conclusions, because Venus is not changing on that type of timescale," unquote. On the plus side, the researchers also looked at other planetary atmospheres and found that the water vapor pressure in Jupiter, for example, was compatible with Earth life. Chris McKay said that Jupiter, quote, "looks much more optimistic. There is at least a layer in the clouds of Jupiter where the water requirements are met. It doesn't mean that there is life, it just means that with respect to water, it would be okay," unquote. So it sounds like this case for life on Venus has been pretty thoroughly debunked. This study seems awfully authoritative, and as McKay said, it's quite conclusive. Or is it? The paper has been reviewed by the astrobiologist David Grinspoon, who found the claims of an uninhabitable Venusian atmosphere to be, in his words, a bit overconfident. He explained his criticisms of the paper in a brief Twitter thread, which I'll share with you here. Several folks have asked me what I think about this new paper in Nature claiming that the clouds of Venus have been shown to be uninhabitable because of the very low water activity. The work is solid in that the calculations of water activity as a function of sulfuric acid concentration seems to have been done correctly. However, the conclusions of the paper are overconfident because we know less about both the atmosphere of Venus and about the nature of life than the authors pretend. He says they also somewhat misrepresent the state of the field. The second sentence of the abstract is not true. It says that discussions of possible habitability of the Venus clouds usually neglect the role of water activity. And he takes umbrage with this. In the next tweet he says, "Actually, many papers, including that I am co-author of, mention water activity as being a crucial factor. In reading this paper, you would think it is established fact that the cloud decks of Venus are known to be pure sulfuric acid, and that the H2SO4 content at every altitude is known to within 1/10 of a weight percent. This is wildly overconfident. In reality, there are many huge mysteries of cloud composition, many hints that the cloud decks are not uniform and homogeneous, and many suggestions that the large particles are not pure H2SO4 and contain other unknown substances, and some big mysteries of atmospheric composition that are more easily answered if not all of the particles are pure sulfuric acid. Thus, Table 1 of the paper gives a false impression of what is solidly established about the clouds. The authors can be forgiven for their other area of overconfidence, in claiming to know the limits of life in the universe and what makes a place uninhabitable, based on the observed limits of terrestrial life. This is a common practice in astrobiology, and we don't know if it is wise or foolish until we discover some other examples of life. However, if you do a search of their paper for the phrase, "we believe," you will see that the overconfident statement of the clouds being uninhabitable in the paper title is actually, next tweet, in the fine print, attributed to the author's opinions about the nature of life. Thus, as I said, the calculations are solid, but the context is somewhat misrepresented, and the conclusions are not as solid as would appear to the casual reader. There remain many reasons to believe that life in the Venus clouds is plausible, and we won't know more until we better characterize the environment with new missions. Fortunately, we are going to have several chances to do so in the coming years, so stay tuned. And for good measure, Mr. Grinspoon links to an older thread where he discusses the evidence supporting the hypothesis of cloud-based microbial life on Venus. So I bring this news story to your attention today to show you that the debate over this is certainly not over. It's a very active area of research, and the matter is far from settled, and I'll try to keep you informed when major news comes out. I just think it's neat that as the debate rages here on Earth, there could be trillions of aerosolized microbes on Venus right now, totally unaware of their status as a fiercely contested possibility to the primates on the colder blue sister planet. Or, and at this point this is just as likely, there could very well be no microbes at all.